Okay, welcome everybody. I think there's going to be some more people trickling in, but we'll just get started. If you see the screen and it says April staff meeting, then you're in the right place. It says, while you wait in the comment section, what is something you're proud of related to ECE? So something related to early childhood education that you are proud of. And we'll read some of the comments. We have a lot of good attendees today. Welcome, everybody. Amy says, when I see a child I've been working with use their strategies to self-regulate, that is definitely rewarding to see that they're practicing what you preach every day and what you're modeling and having them practice with you. So I agree completely. So nice when we see that. They were listening. Okay. You want to keep typing in? We'll read them in a little bit. Make sure you signed into the comment section. So you just wrote your name so I can have that for later and see who wins our raffle. Okay. So this is our April newsletter. Miss Ruby put it together for us, and it goes over NC pre-K and 3 school registrations. If you have students who are going to be 3 by August 31st, those are the children that were interested in getting into 3 school. We applied to have 2 3 school classrooms. So hopefully rooms, well, we're going to decide which rooms, but potentially room 7 and room 8 are the best spaces to hold the program, but we won't really cross that bridge until we get approved for the program and figure all that out, because if it doesn't happen, then we didn't have to worry about it in the first place. NC pre-K, obviously we have at Sneads Ferry too, and we have 2 classrooms there, but we applied for Holly Ridge to have a classroom as well. So if we get approved for that, and we'll also cross that bridge when we get to it. We have Miss Karen saying, when our children check on each other and ask if the friend needs space or comfort. And I hear Miss Karen saying that all the time, and now her children are using the same phrasing, asking if they would like to have space away or if they'd like to be comforted. Ms. Rachel says, when teachers get down on the child's level, when they need to address something. So the teachers that she's been working with, she sees them and they're actually getting down with their children, especially with toddlers, you have to get way down and engaging with them that way. Adrian says, when they see a child show compassion to another child, and compassion and empathy, they have to be taught. And if they don't have that at home being taught, we are that system that's going to provide that to them. So I really do appreciate you guys doing that every day. And then Miss Maddie said, when our children help clean up the playground and help each other solve problems. It's a big deal. Again, something that they have to be taught. And most of the teaching comes from us, from our school, and from you, the teachers. So when you provide that modeling and you show them that it's important to clean our space because we want to be proud of our playground space. When we come back tomorrow morning, we want to make sure it looks fantastic so we can just get right into playing and helping each other solve problems. Again, something we teach them. So you guys have a lot of teaching all day, and it's really a shame that many people don't understand the importance of early childhood education, that this is that big building block that we provide so they can be productive citizens when they go into elementary school. Otherwise, it's going to be a rough road. So we have different things going on this month. We're already a little bit into it. We have early release today. We have parents night out on the 19th. And then our Onslow County teachers have the 29th as a work day. We have, what else do we want to talk about? Oh, so our drop off at 9:30, Joyce and I decided that I'm going to turn on the parent door lock at 9:30 to be consistent. So if we do have families coming in and they try to get in after 9:30, we won't necessarily turn them away each day if there's space, but they will know that those doors are locked and they can't come in if it's a day where we're short-staffed. People are sick and we want to make sure we invite every child in, but by 9:30 there are lunches already planned, the teachers are where they need to be, and we have moved children around, which we don't like doing, to make sure that we can accommodate everybody who needs care for the day. Here, Mikey's having a rough evening, so sorry, excuse him. And the rest time ends at 2:30. If children have a doctor's appointment and they need to come in between that chunk of rest time, like 11:30, 12-ish to 2:30, it disrupts the whole classroom. So we try to make it so that we go get a child if they're getting picked up out of a dark classroom where everyone's sleeping. But if they're going to try to come in before 2:30, we avoid that as much as possible. There are special cases where there are children with unique needs and they have to come in the middle of rest because something couldn't be worked around. And those are on a case-by-case basis and very rare. Super staff members of the month of March. This person has grown tremendously as an administrator and a leader. Their thoughtful notes and messages to teachers and staff, they promote a strong morale in the building. They work with other administrators to create a supportive work environment. They listen and communicate regularly with teachers to ensure that children and families participate in a fantastic program. They maintain meticulous records and complete all tasks efficiently and effectively. They continue to take trainings and courses to grow as an administrator and a professional. They demonstrate consistent punctuality, and they have an outstanding attendance record. And they have been with Sneads Ferry Quality, Holly Ridge Quality for more than 10 years. I think you know who this person is, but we're going to go to the next person. Super staff member again. This person dove into a co-teacher position without hesitation and welcomed all staff members who joined her in the classroom. It was kind of like a revolving door of partners for this person for a while. So they were so supportive of those people coming into the classroom. They guided new teaching partners to demonstrate best practices and model Sneads Ferry's expectations. They're taking courses and workshops to grow as an educator. They communicate regularly with families about their child's well-being and development. I hear all the time the conversations that this person has about the positives of the day and things that they're still working on as a team. Not your child was horrendous today and here's the list of things that they do. They maintain accurate records and a neat, organized classroom space whenever it's possible with that age group. It's a little tough to keep it neat, but we appreciate her efforts. And they're always willing to get their hands dirty, to dive in to be a team player in any situation. And I think you guys know who both of them are. It's Miss Barbie at Holly Ridge and Miss Laura at Sneads Ferry. So we want to say congratulations to them for being superstars in the month of March. Your certificates and your gift cards, I might remember to grab them tomorrow, but I promise they'll be there by Friday morning. Okay. We'd like to welcome to our family, Miss Marissa. She's currently a flex teacher working in room 6 for the past day or two. We want to see if that works out nicely. And she and Miss T seem to be getting along great along with the students in there. Miss Abir, who is a co-teacher, and she'll be joining, if you haven't noticed, she's gone to Holly Ridge Quality, and she's going to be hopefully the lead teacher if we get NC Pre-K there, or a lead teacher of the preschool class over there. Miss Grace, she is a co-teacher in room 9, still testing the waters, but it seems to go very well in there. And she seems to be a very supportive partner to Miss Laura. And Miss Kayla, she's one of our high school apprentices. We haven't officially welcomed her, so we wanted to say welcome to her as well. Reminders, these are here every time. So please make sure your lesson plans are in and posted before Monday morning, because if you're sick Monday and your lesson plan's not up, you don't know what's going to happen in that classroom. And if Kim Sherry decides to make a pit stop, she's going to look for that lesson plan. Menus and schedules should be in your mailboxes by Friday, so you can post them before Monday morning. If you ever notice you're missing one, please let us know. Your whiteboards should always be up to date. I understand you sometimes have kids coming and going, but having that accurate count, especially for Pam in the lunch count, is very important. Radio for administration when you're over by saying admin to room blank. Now, if you need a supply or you need something else, you can say, temp check to room whatever. You can say white scrap paper to whatever room. And then that way we're not coming to you asking what you need and then going back and then coming back to you. So if it's something that you need, a physical item, or you need something done, I need paper towels to room whatever, then we can just bring it straight to you. But if you need admin assistance, obviously you call for us and we'll come talk about whatever the need is. Please make sure your mailboxes are empty each day. Supply list by Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, so if you had to write your supply list, they should have been in that little clear plastic bag behind the office door today. Reimbursements, don't go on a shopping spree. Make sure that you ask if you can get it reimbursed. And in the kitchen, make sure you wash your hands before you touch anything kitchen food related. If you're going to the supply area or the laundry area, you don't have to wash your hands first, though I encourage you to keep washing hands. Entering a classroom, yes, fantastic. But please make sure you are there to help. If you're going into a room, you offer your support. Hey, what can I do to help? We're not there to just chill and hang out. Even though it is enticing. Sunscreen waivers. These have gone out. If you haven't sent them out to your families yet, you will be sending them out. They are exactly the same for every child. It is just the kid's name, and then the parents fill out the bottom with their information, their names. We use Equate from Walmart, and then we hope that everybody wants to use ours because it's much easier. Just use that big pump bottle from your emergency bag than every kid bringing their own sunscreen. It's like a nightmare when you have 20 different sunscreens to keep track of. So if you have a child who may have eczema or something specific need, then their parents might bring in their own specific brand. And on the back of this sheet, there's a blank one that those families will fill out. They'll bring in with the sunscreen, check the expiration dates, just like we do with diaper creams, and make sure that they are going to last the summer so that we don't have to keep checking all the sunscreens. Oh, and then when you get the forms, if you could make a copy for the office, just in case, say your forms get all wet outside from the rain or something happens to them, we have the forms ready to go. And that way we can keep track in our little Excel sheet who brought in their waivers and who still needs a waiver. One technique that we've seen is that people wrap their bottles in tape, masking tape, the packing tape, and then they use a Sharpie to write the kids who have had a signed waiver. That way you have an easy list. It's on the bottle. So if it's not you with your kids, a flex teacher comes in for outside play in the afternoon and they can see who needs sunscreen, who brought in the waiver. If they don't bring in a waiver, they don't get sunscreen. You can keep asking parents, but really in the end, if that poor baby gets sunburn, it's because their parents didn't fill out the waiver and you've been pestering them this whole time. We only coat the children, face, neck, exposed arms. If they're wearing shorts, you can have them do their own legs. If they're old enough, you could do their legs, but it can be a process. So if they're 4 or 3, you can put sunscreen and they can apply themselves. They just have to wash their hands after they're done applying. And then in the morning, parents are responsible to put it on their own kids. Other reminders, punctuality. We've been having some issues with people coming to work on time. There are so many of you who are there a little early. You make sure you take care of all your personal things first. If you need to use the bathroom, totally understandable. Some people are driving over a half hour. Get all your personal stuff done and then clock in. But just keep in mind, if you clock in after the 5-minute mark, it jumps to the 15-minute mark. So you're losing 15 minutes every time you're late. Over the 5-minute mark because Procure automatically does that. So I just want you to keep in mind that if you've noticed there's a lot of traffic lately, the season's changing, more tourists, set your alarm a little earlier because that clock does not wait for anybody. If you, let's see, have to drop your kids off, just make sure you plan accordingly, just like people who have to drive to us to drop their kids off and they drive to work. They have to plan and make sure that they drop their children off with enough time to be able to make it to their place of work on time. So please make sure you're doing the same. And your teaching teams, they all count on you, literally. Ratio counts. If you're 5-10 minutes late and we needed you right on the dot to go grabbing your kids and make sure you're in the building working, that's a big deal. Everyone relies on each other. This is not like a place where you clock in and you kind of just chill out behind somewhere until you might need to restock something or register, or you're in an office building and someone can cover for you, getting your phone calls. This is not that kind of job. This is we're dependent on each of us, each other. Phone usage, please make sure your phones are locked away or at least 5 feet up. The ringers are off. We shouldn't have you calling admin because you just got a phone call and then fill in the blank what happened, because that means you picked up your phone and spoke on your phone in the classroom. I understand there could be urgent phone calls. Just call for admin for coverage and you call that person right back because you could be expecting something urgent. You are definitely welcome to do that. You go make your phone call or you talk on the phone, just not while you're supposed to be supervising children. Smartwatches are treated exactly the same way as your phone. So if you're on there chit-chatting with your text messages, please refrain from doing that. If you can't help yourself, then just get an old school watch if you need to wear a watch. I know our smartwatches can do a lot for us, and we get so accustomed to doing things automatically when we're not in the classroom. But inside the classroom, please no communication devices that are not the tablet, and you're communicating only through ProCare with families. Obviously during active rest, I forgot to mention this, you can have your phone out and do different things. We just ask that you're not chit-chatting on a phone call when you're supposed to have children resting and you're supposed to be supervising the children. Those phone calls you can definitely cast for coverage, but if you're on your phone and you're doing work or you're responding to emails, that's fine. The whole talking on the phone and being distracted component can take over, and then we're not really supervising. Ratios, when you, and it's mostly during closing time, very rarely does this happen during the beginning part of the day. If we have 2 teachers in a room, say, and they have 3 children among them, one of those teachers should call for admin, or they should go find admin and say, hey, what do you need? What do you need from me? Where can I go? Where can I be of help? And that's much better than 2 people standing in a room with 3 itty bitties and just kind of chilling. We got to make sure that everybody has a job. There's always something to do. I know I have a nice long laundry list of things that have to get done each day. If you want some ideas, or you just go find someone who's running the floor and they'll come to you if you call for admin. Classroom tips. We know about those ABC charts. They should be posted. They should have wonderful things for each of you to do on them, so that if you have someone come in and they're a flex teacher and then say, hey, how can I help? But you're busy, you're changing diapers, and someone else is doing something else. You kids, we're changing diapers. I'm A, she's B, you do what's for C. It's much easier to leave C, all of those extra activities or extra things, so that when they come in, there's no questions. They're teacher C because there's a blessing and there's 3 of you in the room. So making sure that you are able to direct the people coming in. Shouting praises, making sure that you're highlighting all the fantastic things your kids are doing, all the things that you want your other students to carry out as well. You can always pinpoint that one kid who's a shining star, and you see everybody else start to mimic what they're doing. Guiding children to avoid injury. We say this all the time, just saying it again so that we make sure we're heard. You guide them with the flat side of your hand against their back. If they do want to hold your hand and walk with you, great. But if they resist and they drop themselves to the ground, you let them down slowly, gradually, and then you address them. Say, I'll be over here when you're ready. Your body's not ready yet. When it's ready, I'll be here to help you. And then you just walk away, but you're kind of keeping a side eye on that kid, and you're doing something else with another student, because they're dropping because they are not regulated yet, right? So we have to wait for them to regulate their body, get themselves in a space and a moment where they can actually hear you. Because if they're screaming, kicking, and flailing their bodies, they are not in a position to be able to hear or understand what you're saying. Everybody working with kids, make sure you get down on their level, which I saw a lot of praising happen right there in the chat box when we were talking about what we're proud of seeing, and making sure you're using your big voice. That doesn't mean you're shouting. That doesn't mean you're harsh. It just means that you are heard by your students because you use that even tone. Becky Bailey always says, our feet are on the floor. My chair is pushed in. That even tone, you're not being harsh. You're just stating what needs to be happening in that expectation. What do you expect? And we always follow through. If you say, oh, you can't go outside until these toys are cleaned up, and they are just stubborn, they're sticking with it, they're not cleaning up those toys, they think you're going to give in, you might need to call for admin, because an administrator can go out with those other kids and you're staying strong. You're going to mean what you say and you're going to follow through. That child needs to pick up those toys before they can go outside. And you're going to wait. You're going to wait it out. And guess what? We wait longer than they can. So we're going to wait, and then they pick up those toys. You can also offer to help them. We're going to pick up the toys together. I'll do all the red ones. You do all the blue ones. We're going to put them in the bin together, and then they can proceed outside. But at least you held them to what they needed to do first. Providing those 2 positive choices, 2 things you would say yes to, not something obscure that you know you'd never be able to provide for them. So 2 choices that you would say yes to. You can sit here, or you can stand still here and for circle time. So you can sit here at the circle time, or you can stand over here for circle time. 2 positive choices. You would say yes to either, but it's not them flailing around, playing over here, doing something else, distracting their friends, whatever the case may have been. I found this really interesting. It's how entitled kids are created. And it's a shame that we see it a lot more so now with children going into elementary school. If you have older children and their friends seem to be in this realm of entitlement, it may be because these instances occurred while they were growing up. So if you help mommy clean up the table, I'll give you ice cream. Oh, so when I help someone with something, they owe me something. Your friend is sad. Go say you're sorry. But they're not responsible for the upset. So this is a certain instance where it may be that, oh, I stepped in front and I didn't realize you were there and I need to apologize. Also bringing up apologizing when the child doesn't really mean it, you can have more so of a focus on how that child they affected feels. Oh, you see their face, they're crying. That made them very sad when you snatched the toy from their hand. What can we do next time? So you don't have to push an apology, but you do teach that empathy and what they can do instead of the action they chose. So if I feel upset, they owe me an apology. I should just always get a sorry if I'm sad. If you have to share your toy, give it to her. And this happens with older siblings a lot. If you don't notice, I do it sometimes with Eden. I don't mean it. You know, your brother wants this. You should give it to him. But why? If she was playing with it, he needs to ask her and he needs to wait his turn so that he doesn't eventually think when I want something, people have to give it to me, because that's not the case. Not when you're an adult. I don't see people giving me millions of dollars. All right, so this is Setting Boundaries with Becky Bailey. It's a short, sweet video, kind of going from that image I just showed you to here. What are those boundaries? What would you like someone to do to observe your boundary? And this goes for adults and for children. If you model it with your children, oh, you're grabbing onto my shirt. I'd like to set my boundary here. So Becky Bailey does a great job of explaining it. I'm going to play the video and we'll talk about it afterwards. All right, it's not loud enough. Okay.
I go see her face. The face is saying, I set a whole boundary, right? I taught you to look at her face. I set your boundary. Kid can't talk, whether they're 13 with autism or they're shy, elective mutism, or they're a baby. Then when they get older, I look at her. I saying, I don't like it. Okay. Okay, close enough. She wants you to touch him. Then as she goes older, she wants, but I'm still doing a bulk of the work. As they get a little older, she's like, I don't like it. Yeah, I'm the boundary. I'm loaning my boundary information to you so you learn how to set your boundary. I don't like it. My name, or tell it. Call me stupid. Call me Becky. That's my name. So as you get older and then as they get older kids in middle school, do all kinds of stuff with each other. God help. But you go to the victims side, right? I've had them come, you know, they do, you know, they grab them by the neck going down the hall giving notes like this, you know. And you have to talk to the one and I'll come down and say, is that all right with you? You know, got you in a neck hole, giving you notice. And usually, especially these are guys who'll go, not that bad. And then what we do with them is says, well, it's horrible. Say, let go, and I'll walk right 3 steps over here. Let go, it's not funny. So you have to do it slightly as they grow. We're constantly talking about how many people find helping kids with their boundaries. All hitting, pushing, shoving, stepping on each other, walking on each other, calling them names. How much of your day do you spend helping kids with boundaries? All day long. That is your job. You're a boundary enforcer. Now we thought it was to squish them and hit them over the head when they did it. as opposed to teach them. And that's kind of what happened to us when we intruded on a boundary. We just kind of got whacked, you know. So we didn't learn how to make our own. But we're not only just keeping peace, so to speak, we're empowering them with SEL skills. We are teaching them how to have healthy boundaries for the rest of their life, which means we're helping them have a voice to grow up in a society where they have a voice and they feel like they can use it.
Okay. Lost my place.
So,
All right. So going back to the video about boundaries, it is our job to teach them, just like we were talking about all those other skills. We watch a little clip every time we have a staff meeting, but I would love to see this practice brought into your classrooms. Just like Becky said, even if they're itty bitties, maybe their toddler friend bites them and they don't have the verbiage yet, but at least you're guiding them to understand where boundaries are. And then as they get older, we give them the words and they start using the words. And when they leave us to go off to kindergarten, they have a strong sense of self. They're able to use their big voice. They're able to tell their friends what they like, what they don't like, and then they're able to stand up for themselves versus somebody here always seeing them get the brunt end of something. They're getting treated a way that they don't like to be treated, but they don't have those words. They don't have that big voice or the presence to speak up for themselves. Because you have to be your own advocate, right? And we learn that as adults. We learn that maybe when we're in high school, college, especially when you become an adult. But we're trying to give that skill to the itty bitties, because then we're able to have these individuals who are able, they can just bring themselves through a situation versus relying on that adult to do it for them. And so many of those times you have the kids come and tell you, well, so-and-so did this. Okay, so what can we tell so-and-so for next time? And then that's where you bring in the boundary teaching, and then maybe they'll carry it out and practice it there with you. And next time they do it by themselves, if we're lucky enough, or after many times of working with them, then they bring it on when they have a situation all by themselves. And that's the win that we're looking for. So ASQs and assessments, this is the time. We're in April and we have our conferences in May. So we're getting ready with assessing students. Every single age group will use ASQs to remain consistent. And then if you have a graduating student going off to kindergarten, those are the students who will have the kindergarten readiness assessment. So from our ittiest bittiest all the way up to the ones who aren't quite graduating yet, those are the ones with ASQs. So far this year, you should have some kind of portfolio for each child. You don't have to go crazy, but we do have to have something where you have the ASQs from prior, if they've been with you, and then maybe some anecdotal notes you've taken. You have pictures of them in action because you send those pictures through ProCare to the family. So you have their portfolio with pictures, maybe short videos, their previous ASQs, the ASQ you're going to do this month, and then they carry it with them to their next class. So by the time they leave us to go to kindergarten, they have all of them, a portfolio of them from us. Now, what the parents do with it, if they use it to, maybe they need services, maybe the child is gifted and talented, and they can use that packet, that portfolio, to help as evidence when they have their meetings with their school administrators, the IEP team, whoever they may be meeting with, or just the next teacher. They had struggled with this when they were in pre-K, and we just want to make you aware. Their teacher informed us this was the ASQ, this is what they noticed. We worked on this with their teacher in pre-K, and now they're going off to kindergarten. Teacher, I wanted to make you aware so you can start with my child where they left off. Sometimes that is very helpful for a teacher, learning something that that child needs. Sometimes it can be harmful if it's a negative comment from the previous teacher, which I used to get all the time when I was teaching. Someone would be like, oh, you're getting so-and-so. And then they would tell me all the terrible about that poor child before they came to me. And I'd have to cut them off because I don't want to know. They're going to be different with me, and I'm going to have them in my class now. So that situation we don't want, but we want the productivity. We want the components that show how they grew from maybe they started at infancy with us, which quite a few of them have, And now they're graduating and going off to kindergarten. And here's all the things they worked on. Here's the things that they needed while they were with us. These are the services that were provided to them. Here's a beautiful packet on this child. And now it's off to you to help support them in their growth, kindergarten teacher. So that's why we do the portfolios. And so the families feel like we are informed about their child. We know their kid. You spend 10 hours with these kids every day. You know them. So the ASQ provides that data and that information for us to say, oh, this is where their gap is, and now we can work on that gap and support them. So when they go off to their choose classroom, they're ready, Freddie. They have it because we worked on it. Sometimes we don't notice where a kid is struggling because it's not practiced as much. Say you haven't done a lot of cutting in your class, you've used really thick crayons. So that fine motor, the OT component, hasn't really been noticed that that child struggles. Maybe they have a difficult time with grasping. Maybe they have a difficult time with eating. And that's where OT comes in. But when we do an ASQ about the child, it really opens our eyes to see, oh, I didn't even realize they can't jump. You know, they're 3 and they can't jump in place because we don't really practice that skill as often. And the playground, I don't really expect them to jump everywhere. But now that I've done the ASQ and I ask them to jump, they can't jump. So we're going to practice jumping. We're going to go outside and we're going to be little bunnies for the next 2 weeks. And then that child can progress in that skill. So it's not just all academics. Sometimes it's social, emotional, and physical skills that we can help them with so they can grow as individuals. So with the assessments, your observations, data collection here in April, we're going to make sure that if you are a seasoned teacher and you've done the ASQs before, you are a wealth of knowledge for those who haven't. So if you have, and you can support those newer teachers, the ones who haven't really done it yet, we ask that you kind of get yourself in there and help them, support them, offer your support so that they feel confident when they're going to their conferences with families in May and they've done the ASQ and they're knowledgeable about the program itself. If you feel like you need an in-depth learning session about ASQs, I'd be happy to talk to you about them. They are pretty straightforward, but it's the value behind why we do them that we want our parents to understand. This is why we do this, and this now is the plan for your child's growth and development. It's not just doing it and putting it off to the side. When you do your ABC charts for those friends who are strong-willed and those friends who you've noticed they have some kind of pattern happening with their behavior and you're not quite sure what it is, that's what the ASQs are for. The ABC charts are for, sorry. So the ABC charts tell you the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. The antecedent is what happened prior. What was their trigger? Their behavior, what did they do? Just flat out, just the facts. What did you witness them do? And then the consequence. It doesn't have to be that you gave them a consequence. It can just be what was consequential of their actions. So say they threw the blocks and the consequence was they hit a friend and then they had to take some time away from blocks and talk to the teacher about why it's important to keep blocks on the ground. So that's part of the consequence. But when you're writing these ABC charts, you kind of notice, oh, their trigger is when someone's in their space. And I can see that because every antecedent is so-and-so was standing next to them and they just decided to bite down on their arm. This child wants space, but because they don't have the words and they don't understand what they should do to try to get space, they're just biting, hitting, kicking, anything else, because they want that child out of their space. And that's why the ABC charts are so helpful, because you can see the pattern developing as these instances occur. We can use it when we pull in families for conferencing to get them to understand what's happening in the classroom, what they can do at home, and what the next steps are here at school. So we want to make sure we have that team effort from home, from our classroom teachers, and from admin when we have those concerns about students. And hopefully we can help them grow and not have those triggers that cause this specific behavior. But there are some times when we are not able to help them grow and the parents are not on board. And those are the times where we may need to separate and part ways. But that's very rare to have that. So we've been having trouble with our Echo Dots and our tablets connecting, and it's driving me crazy because some classrooms will have it working one day and then 2 hours later in the day, it doesn't work anymore. Something happens. And what's happening that I noticed is the tablets are being assigned to other Echo Dots by accident. So when someone clicks on, oh, this Echo Dot, let's try this one, and you got like 8 Echo Dots for some reason on your tablet, it's not the right one. Your Alexa app ties into that one. So now your songs are playing in someone else's room. Or when you try to play a song, it's cutting off their music. And that's the problem I've noticed is happening. So what my goal is to have these instructions here. I'm going to print them. I will ask if you can during rest time, or if I have availability, I'll try to do all, I want to do them all in one day. That's my goal. And make sure that all the other Echo Dots, every single one, just clear them all from the tablet. No Echo Dots on your tablet. Then you're going to start from scratch and you're going to follow the directions on the Alexa app, like she says, to go and connect that one Echo Dot from your classroom to your one Fire tablet. There were other times when Fire tablets got switched between rooms and people started logging in, but it wasn't really connected to yours. So you're trying to play Spotify to your Echo Dot, but really your Spotify is connected to that Echo Dot. So I'm going to print this page. I'm going to print this next page because some of you have also done Bluetooth connection because you were trying to fix it yourself, which I completely appreciate. But now we're connected through the Alexa app and we're connected through Bluetooth, and those cancel each other out. So I'm going to print these 2 pages. Like I said, please try to get them done during active rest tomorrow. I will go around as much as I can, but I'm pretty sure I can't do 12 rooms or 10 rooms at once in one day. So we're gonna do our best, and hopefully after clearing off all those extra Echo Dots and doing this Bluetooth disconnect, you should be okay. Let's hope you're okay. Okay. The meal program, like we talked about previously, it's a little light, sorry, but every time there should be an X in the box if you offered the meal to the child. If you say, hey, do you want breakfast today? And they say, no, I don't want breakfast. You still mark an X because you offered them a meal. If they're in attendance that day, obviously you mark it. If they bring their own food, you still mark them because you offered our meal. They just happen to bring their own food. We had a great question last time about when do you write children in who are visiting your class? That gets very complicated. But Joyce finally, Joyce, are you on? Okay, what Joyce said, and I want to make sure I got it right because it was a little confusing going back and forth about the benefits of each and then the problems with each. We're going to ask that you write the children in only if they're in your room past breakfast. So that means they're spending the day with you, right? We have kids traveling all around, unfortunately, during breakfast time. So I don't want you to have to write that kid in for breakfast because you'll have 30 names on your new list. But if they're there with you for lunch, that means you serve them breakfast, you serve them lunch, and you're serving them snack. Then you write their name in. If they're only there for breakfast, they're going to go back to their class, and that teacher will say, oh, you're in attendance. Oh, you had breakfast, and here I'm serving you lunch and snack. That way you're writing the least amount of names, but it's still recorded that the child ate. Because sometimes the kids come in and they don't even see their teacher because they've gone into a different room, and then their teacher might come in afterwards. They didn't even know they were there that day. We're trying to avoid those situations by making sure we're overstaffed, but sometimes there are many who are sick or your kids are sick and it just happens. So again, if a child's with you for breakfast, don't do anything. If a child's with you for lunch, then you're going to write their name in. They obviously had breakfast with you if they were there in time. Then they had lunch and snack. If they are present for the meal, you're going to mark them. If they go back to you, your homeroom babies are back with you, then obviously you know they were there, they had breakfast, they are getting lunch from you, and they're getting snack from you. Really hope that makes sense, but it'll be a reduction of all that extra nonsense. Rachel asks, is there any way we can keep the kids the same that we move if we need, so we don't have to add so many? Just a thought. Yes. So we'll try to be as consistent as possible for the ones who are moving, if we have to, on the days where we have too many people out. So say, Mikey, Eden, Adam, they're the ones we always move from one class to the other class, because then it'll be consistent. That week, maybe someone's got the flu and we don't have anyone to go in with Rachel. So she's going to take out her extra children, keep her 6, and we'll try to keep those extra kids the same ones all week. That way their diapers are still in that room, their nap stuff is in their room, and it's just consistent. So it's a great idea. We'll do our best to keep it that way. We talked about this last time, sending kids home. Just make sure you always call for admin to check the temp. I know most of you have thermometers in your classroom, but it's always good to use 2 different thermometers. We've had situations in the past week, actually numerous situations in the past week, where parents question our thermometers. And I understand people have to work. I understand they go home and they may not have such a high fever, 3 hours later from what they did at school, but we're using 2 different brands in the ear. And you use your forehead one in your classroom if you choose to. I can't explain why theirs at home gets 99.9 and ours at school got 102.3. And then they come in the next day and they may have taken some Tylenol and they are, 99. So we're going to try our best. That's an admin issue, but just to avoid you getting in the mix of things, always call for admin and we can double check the temperature. When you want to just tell parents about how their child may be doing, so-and-so's been looking a little sleepy, they've been in cozy all day complaining of a tummy ache. That's something, yes, definitely please inform the parents. As a parent, I know I want to be informed. Will I get my kid? No, probably not, but other parents may go get their kid. Or you can say, we'll keep an eye on them. And then maybe we take their temp after nap and there's the fever, it came. So that's the reason for sending them home. And then you have all those symptoms you spoke about through ProCare in the beginning of the day. All right. Engaging with students. Please don't just sit. We are educators, right? So we're educating these itty bitties. We're getting our hands dirty in there. If you feel like you need to sit, you need a break. Sit with children, engage with the children while you're sitting. On the playground, we shouldn't see adults just sitting on furniture, yelling at a kid across the playground. That's definitely not good supervision, and you're not engaging with kids. You're yelling this kid's name across the playground, you're probably going to yell their name 10 times before they hear you. You get up, you go to the child, you address the situation, and you do exactly what you do every day in working with them to problem solve. Yelling across the playground and having them come to you, probably not the best use of your time. So get up, go to them. If you need to sit, then you're sitting with kids. Maybe you're playing duck, duck, goose. You're sitting with kids. Maybe you guys are exploring little bugs in the ground, whatever. But you're engaging with children. Please, please, please. We haven't had this in a while, but if you have a parent who wants to have a lengthy conversation with you and it's just going to keep going and going, or they bring up, their boyfriend's troubles, then just say, oh, excuse me, I got to go over there and help them. Or if you wanted to talk further, I'd be happy to set up a conference with you. I have some time during active rest. I can do a phone conference and just cut it. You're not being rude. I have to go supervise the kids over there. I'm so sorry to cut you off. And then you go and then you move away. See you later. I'll see you tomorrow. Your kids and their needs are more important than the conversation that they were having with you. You can have tomorrow. You can have it during a conference call, or if it's something that involves admin, I'd be happy to sit with them and I'll chit chat with them for an hour. But your time is precious. So please make sure you don't be afraid to say, excuse me, I got to go over there. At the end of the day, we want to make sure all high knees are clean. All high knees. Please check those butts and faces at 5 o'clock. We kind of do the 4 o'clock diapering. So obviously when you lay a kid down to diaper them, you wipe their face because they're gross. You clean them, you change them, and then they're off, right? Then we're outside playing. You got snot face. You got that kid who rubs it all over their hair and their face, and then they may have pooped. from the time at 4 o'clock until they get picked up around 5:15. So if it's at the very least, please check at 5 o'clock. Ideally, you would check 4:30, you would check butts at 5, you would check butts at 5:30, because everybody likes a clean diaper to poop in. And that is a fact. Once you change that butt, you're gonna have them pooping in a clean diaper. So it's gonna be 4:15. And you're like, oh, did you poop? And yes, okay, so I gotta go change it. But you're not letting it sit there until they get picked up at 5:30. That's horrible. And I know it's really difficult to smell a poop outside, but please make sure you at least do a routine check. You ask kids when they're older, you need to go potty, let's try potty. Or just tell them we're going potty. And that way they go in, you know your bases are covered, they won't have an accident, which causes you to have more work changing them and having a whole mess. So making sure that you're just checking with them and sending them potty, especially when there's someone outside on the playground and there's someone still inside. You know, you go change your kids if that's, you know, you want to be kind and go change your itty bitties, that's fantastic, and switch spots with them. But making sure we check our kids. We want to send them home cleaner than they came to us. We want to send them better than they came to us that morning. They're happy, they're clean face, clean butt, and they had a great day. That's what we want to send them home with. If they had a terrible day, at least we can send them home clean. So we got that going for us. Okay. Closing checklist. This is for everybody because there's components on here that every teacher can help with. If you're the lead teacher, the co-teacher of the room, you got flex teachers coming in at the end of the day, you can still contribute. Active rest is a great time to stock up. You say, oh, we're out of wipes, or tomorrow we're going to be out of wipes. Go grab a pack of wipes. That way you know it's handled. If you have time to go and refill the water jug before outdoor play in the afternoon, it's getting warm out and those kids love to drink water. So making sure that you fill the jug between morning play and afternoon play is really essential, because we're going to start getting those calls, water jug refill to playground, and then we go to that playground and you know it's a lot. Your kids are thirsty. Making sure you got cups, all those little cups. And then what was I going to say? Oh, in the staff lounge, Miss Laura did clean it the other day for us. It looked wonderful today when I walked in. Just asking that you guys keep it nice and neat. If you have trash, it goes in the trash bin. If you notice the trash bin's full, you take that bad boy out. And the microwave has a cover, so if you're putting your food in there, cover it up. Finishing our contact hours and trainings. Something Ruby and I learned today that I wanted to share with you, quite interesting, that we have thought this whole time, as well as Ms. Kim Sherry, apparently, that with your training hours, your contact hours, you would take, so I'm a person who needs 5 contact hours every year. When I went to college, I had an excessive amount of contact hours. So they would go to the next year, they would carry over to the next year, half of what I just had. That's not really what's supposed to happen. If I had 135 contact hours carry over to the next year, but I had to cut it in half, that's not how it works. What really is, you take half of what you're required every year. So for example, I had 135 extra contact hours, only the 5 that I'm supposed to take every year, half of the 5 actually carries to the next year. So 2.5 contact hours out of the 135 carry over to the next year. Now I'm going to double, triple check on this, but this is crazy sauce. So for all of you who have your contact hours, and I appreciate all your trainings and all the surplus of contact hours, you're going to college, you get 35 contact hours every time. Not all of those carry over because it's only half of your required amount will go over to the next year. So no matter what I do, I had 135 the year before, only 2.5 carry to the next year. So just say it out. That's some crazy stuff right there. All right. Teach applications, since Ruby's on top of this with you, but just making sure if you have the yearning to go to school, you can go for free to college. You can get just your credentials, your associate's, your bachelor's, your master's. I think you can even get your doctorate, and it's all for free. And we kind of pay you throughout the way with bonuses and pay raises. So why not go to school? You can do one class at a time, take it slow, and that way you are doing something for yourself in the long run, because you may not be with us forever, but you can definitely take advantage of this opportunity while you're with us. With colleges, try to pick ones, and Ruby and I got. But anyway, just if you want to go to school, I recommend you get on Miss Ruby's page, and they'll hook you up. All right. We have an open door policy. If you have something troubling you, please come and see us, message us. One person in admin, and you just have that conversation about something that's concerning, and we will do our very best to address it. But if we don't know, like Joyce says, then we can't help with that problem. So sharing the things that are troubling you, concerns you have, are much better than keeping them bottled up inside, and then they explode one day, and it all could have been resolved months before. Positivity is contagious, but so is negativity and the gossip. So please make sure you always come in with that positive attitude when you're working with coworkers. You may not be best friends outside of work, but in work, you are going to be very professional coworkers with one another, because it makes a big difference when those kids see you treating others with respect and being supportive of one another. Does anyone have any questions for the good of the group while we are still on? Did I forget anything, Ruby, Joyce?
There were some changes for the schedule for tomorrow. Field day for anybody that had requested time to go spend with their children at school. Those people are actually coming into work. So if I had originally asked you to come in earlier, please go look, because I'm shifting you back down to your regular hours, since the openers that were going to be off will in fact be in tomorrow. So just if you have any questions, text message me. I'll put my phone number on the Facebook Messenger app.
Thank you. Well, that's good news. It'll be better closing. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a fantastic evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for joining.